Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in and checking out my latest video about Frankie the Answer Edgar, an excellent MMA fighter. Let me first get off a quick shout out to my boy Aaron G. I know he'll be checking it out. He's a big Frankie Edgar fan. So shout out to Aaron G. I hope you enjoy the video, buddy. And let's get started. Frankie Edgar. First thing I gotta say, badass walkout entrance with the Biggie Smalls. Loving that. Top three right now in the sport, in my opinion, with the entrance, music. Thumbs up for me on that. Thumbs up. And let's get right into his background now. So Frankie Edgar out of Toms River, New Jersey. Wrestling background, which comes to a surprise for some people because you see how crisp and technical his striking is in the octagon. Great movement in and out. He just has excellent technique behind his punches. I'm very impressed with his stand-up, and that's a huge part of his game. And a lot of these close fights comes in handy for him all the time. But Frankie Edgar overall, just a really well-rounded fighter. He's got great stamina, great wrestling, and his jiu-jitsu is good as well. He works with Renzo Gracie and Ricardo Almeida, masters on the ground. And he's used his jiu-jitsu to get out of some tough positions in the past, and his toughness as well, which really defines Frankie Edgar as a fighter. So getting into some big wins in Frankie Edgar's career, you have early on Jim Miller, Hermes Franca, former champion Sean Shirk. Then you have the upset of the year against BJ Penn. And the first time they met, nobody gave him a shot against BJ Penn. Ends up getting a unanimous decision, winning the lightweight championship. Then nobody gives him a chance in the second fight against BJ Penn, and he does it even more convincingly this time. So, excellent performances against BJ Penn, who is a legend in the sport. And that's what really got Frankie Edgar on a lot of people's radar for how good of a fighter this guy is. The first time I ever witnessed how tough this guy was when he fought Tyson Griffin, who was undefeated at the time, and this was at UFC 67, I believe. And Frankie Edgar was up on the cards, and Tyson Griffin caught him with a knee bar, and it looked like he was going to tap, and it was just a gruesome position. But Frankie Edgar stayed in the fight, didn't tap, and ends up winning a unanimous decision. So that was the first time I was like, wow, that dude's a tough man, I'll tell you that right now. And later on in his career, you saw how tough he was in those classic trilogy fights with Gray Maynard. So if you're not familiar with the trilogy, Gray Maynard wins the first fight. The second fight, Frankie Edgar comes in as a champion because Gray Maynard had beaten him before he fought BJ Penn. So Frankie Edgar is a champion in the second fight, and basically Gray Maynard just rocks him, and Frankie Edgar is rolling around all over the place, just very hurt. And I thought watching it that he was done for sure. I said, wow, there's no way he's getting out of that. Ends up doing that and comes back later in the fight, and it ends up being a draw. And it was just an excellent fight. It won Fight of the Night honors. Frankie Edgar's won several Fight of the Night honors. I should mention that as well. And in the rematch, Frankie Edgar gets hurt again in the first round. And I don't know how he did it again, but he did it again. Comes out, but this time he stops Gray Maynard in the fourth round, knocks him out, and I was just like, wow, this guy's the modern day Rocky Balboa of MMA. First of all, he's small for that weight class. Second of all, just incredible. It's like watching like Arturo Gatti when he used to fight in boxing. You just think he's done, but he's so tough, he takes a beating, comes back, never quits, and can win the fight. And it was just amazing to watch. If you haven't seen the Gray Maynard versus Frankie Edgar fights, these are classic MMA fights. I definitely recommend the second and third fight of the trilogy to watch. Just amazing fights, and that's where Frankie Edgar gained a lot of fans. I mean, it was amazing to see him come back from that. I was just completely impressed with that. Wow, I can't say enough, to be honest with you, about him coming back in those fights. And I told him that I actually had an opportunity to meet him at Algonquin College during a Q&A session. I told him just that thanked him very much for those classic fights. Excellent guy, and he was answering everybody's questions. A real cool dude. And Frankie Edgar overall, to me, he's been in a few close decisions since he defeated Maynard. He lost his title to Ben Henderson the first fight. Showed how tough he was again. Got out of a tight guillotine choke Ben Henderson had him in. Second fight, I thought there was no doubt Frankie Edgar won it. Got screwed by the judges. And then the Aldo fight is debatable. Some people have Frankie Edgar winning that fight. Very close fight. And that was in the 145-pound division, where Frankie Edgar is currently ranked number 2 in the world. And I just really enjoy seeing Frankie Edgar fight. He wants all the best fighters. He had a 3-fight losing streak, but these were all against a top-level composition, top guys in the divisions, really. And he defeated Charles Oliveira, was his last win, and a very dominating performance to get him back on track. And it sounds like now he's going to fight BJ Penn and the Ultimate Fighter finale. They're going to be coaches, and they're going to eventually fight. I see Frankie Edgar completely dominating BJ Penn, to be 100% honest. I think BJ Penn's going to take a brutal beatdown. So tune into that. Let me know what you guys think about Frankie Edgar. My opinion, just excellent fighter to watch. Really a pleasure to have in the sport of MMA. And if you're not a fan of his, I really recommend you check out his fights. And thank you once again, guys, for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. And let me know your thoughts on Frankie Edgar. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.